Hello, listeners. Lisa Starr of Win Business here with another episode of StarCast. Actually, this is something we haven't done before. It is part one of a two-parter. Why so much content, you might ask? Last week, I was privileged to travel to FIBO in Cologne, Germany. FIBO is the largest fitness trade event in the world. This year was its 40th anniversary. There were 1,200 exhibitors and over 154,000 attendees from 129 countries. Among them, 12,000 athletes, 500 influencers, and a lot of folks from fitness, wellness, and related businesses. It's a massive show. It spans 10 different halls at the exhibition center in Cologne. It is 4 days long, and honestly, in 4 days, you really can't even see it all. I was privileged to host, along with Andrew Gibson and Sven Huckenbeck, an international day of a conference focused on spa and wellness with speakers that are from businesses that are looking at longevity and wellness and different aspects of tying that into spa and hospitality. We had 8 speakers, and I've recorded some of them, and that is what you will hear in this episode and the next episode, which will air next week. So thank you for listening to this, part one. I hope you find it informative and inspirational.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andrew Gibson. I am one of the organizers for this set of speakers that we have today. I'd like to just invite my other 2 co-organizers. Sen, would you come up? And Lisa? So we are the 3 people responsible for the speakers that you are going to be listening to today. So you can directly come back to us, not the speakers, if you have any questions about who we chose. Today is going to be presentations, and then we're going to wrap up the morning and wrap up the afternoon with a little bit of a summary and an opportunity for you to think about questions and ask them back to us. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Before I start, I want to give a little bit of a thought. And mostly I don't read from my notes, I just speak. But what I want to say, I felt necessary to have it in writing so that I don't mix up what I'm about to say. The topic for speakers today is all around longevity. And we have a very particular focus from speakers that will give you an opportunity to understand, adapt, and apply services that are relevant for hospitality operators. And as you can see from the many exhibitors out there are plenty of options to apply science-based services to our guests. But we cannot ignore the social and economic pressures that our guests and potential guests are facing. Who would have predicted that the changes in the last 3 months, when the program today was conceived, the concept of longevity in our industry was a topic everyone wanted to learn about? Today, I would argue that whilst it is extremely relevant, wellness is the one factor that every single person on this planet needs, and some more than others. World order has been completely disrupted in the last few months, to the point that a well-organized group of wealthy, old, predominantly white men have placed security at jeopardy for almost everyone on this planet, for what can only be presumed as a short-lived personal gain. And in this current political turmoil that is changing world order, our industry of wellness will play an increasingly significant role to the well-being of our citizens. In the last 2 months in Sweden, where I live, we've received a government leaflet on how to prepare ourselves in the event of a war. We've been advised to stockpile, and in my small village of 3,000 people, our local business community has been invited to create their own information sharing on a network provided by a Russian-controlled chat medium. Baby boomers and early Generation X have parents that lived through the perils of World War II and 2 long decades of post-war economic building. They now have doubt about their own safety and security of their pensions and investments. even more so for our aging American colleagues that are stressed over the potential loss of Social Security medical support. Generation Y, better known as the millennials, live in a society where house prices and cost of living have consistently outstripped income growth. That makes it a struggle to afford a house and a family, and are now facing the prospect of global recessions to wither away any savings that they've started to make. Generation Z will grow up in a world that could be polarized, where reality is that they could be kidnapped off the street by unknown entities and disappear from our world, and where family and unity social connections are managed digitally, and in a world where reality and virtual reality are increasingly similar. There is documentation that this generation are more open to recognize the need on mental stress and are generally biased to experiences more than material gain. We need wellness to help people get into a state of well-being, if only for a temporary break from this stressful world. And yet, we as an industry don't make it easier for either the public or even our wellness providers to have clarity on what is available and what choices to make. Wellness, well-being, biohacking, health span, and yes, even longevity require an industry-wide set of definitions that are universally accepted so that we can communicate with one voice to the public. Until then, we can only do our best to help you understand what longevity is. And we've got a great lineup of speakers that will provide guidance and case studies to help you understand that whilst longevity has many scientific and technological opportunities, we can also provide places of wellness for the guests to give them a temporary escape from their enormous daily upheavals. Longevity simply means length of life. Without quality of life, longevity can become a struggle. And therefore, whilst you'll see plenty of high-tech solutions to improve your health, please don't lose sight of the simple things that create wellness that lead to a longer, healthier life. A peaceful environment, nature, good food, movement, a sense of community, and a caring, empathetic employees. Those are vitally important in today's society.
Thank you for joining us here at Meeting Point Spa and Wellness as we continue with our morning programming. Our next speaker is Oliver Patrick, who is joining us from London. I'm going to take just a moment to introduce him because he has many titles. Besides physiologist, which is his training, he is the founder of Future Practice, a digital wellness education company. He is the director of well-being for Lattice Health, one of the UK's largest providers of occupational health assessments. He is the technical ambassador for Everyone Active, largest health and leisure operator in the UK. Oh, and he hosts several podcasts, which explains why it took me 6 weeks to get a phone call with him. But he is here today as the clinical director of Pillar Wellness, which is a new company, a luxury hospitality business focused on delivering integrated solutions for well-being into hospitality. So Oliver is going to share a few slides with you to explain a little bit about Pillar, and then we will converse. So welcome, Oliver.
Thank you. What a delightful intro. It's very kind. We've got half an hour, I think, to talk about. Yeah, great. So I was given the sort of broad topic, is wellness the new fitness? I think it's a good starting point. I think picking up on Andrew's introduction earlier on, no one really has a good definition of wellness and no one's got a good definition of fitness. So we could be here all day trying to work out if one of those is the new of the other. I think fitness is an interesting and challenging word. It's a word that sort of sits above the door of most of the things that I'm involved in, but I think it's an awful word. I think it's a word that saddles us. And when someone says fitness, I generally ask them what they mean by fitness. Fit for what? Because fitness is a capability. It's not a state of biology. Someone says, oh, Ollie, you look fit, which they don't, in all fairness, we say that very often. If someone says, Ollie, you fit, what do they mean? They probably mean my weight looks roughly okay for my height. They've got no idea whether I am well. And if I'm well, does that mean I'm healthy? these terms, this language is confused and complex. Is fitness our ability to construct patterns of movement that influence biology? Is that what we're talking about with fitness? And I think for me, that's a good starting place. When we talk fitness, are we talking about influencing physiology through patterns of movement? And if so, is that enough to be well? And the broad answer for that would be no, it's not enough to be well. It's a major part of well-being, but well-being is a broader topic. Why is well-being doing so much? Why am I working for medical companies, gym companies, hotel companies? I'll share some examples of where wellness is infiltrating different sectors. But wellness is doing well, because the world has never required wellness in the way that it does now. And I'm fascinated by the growth of wellness, and we see the rise of the global well-being economy that outperforms the GDPs of most countries by 1.5 times. Why? Because we have an obesogenic environment where our labor is being saved with every invention. Go to a tech conference and everything will make your life easier. Go to, again, any sort of nutritional conference and everyone will chastise ultra-processed food that delivers hyper-palatable, calorie-dense food. So I move less, I eat more, we gain weight, we have a global obesity crisis. We'll not discuss GLP-1s today. We have an anxiogenic environment, which means we're being challenged on a new way around perpetual stimulation, perpetual light, continual noise. We face a 24-hour global news cycle. We face comparison as the thief of joy through social media. That's a totally new phenomenon that our frontal lobes of our adolescence cannot handle. And we see the rippling effect of enormous mental health disorders globally. So we have an anxiogenic environment, we have an obesogenic environment, we have an exposome-led environment where our physiology is encountering pesticides, benzene from air pollution, unbelievable levels of UVA, UVB sun rays, extraordinary environmental factors that didn't exist 60 years ago. Right? My parents didn't eat ultra-processed food while ordering a taxi to their front door. They didn't have their friends on Facebook telling them their life's better than yours. And they didn't walk out into a polluted environment. They didn't need well-being. You need well-being. I need well-being, because to navigate this is really complicated. But to navigate this is much more than do I do sets and reps, do I got good cardio, have a good lean tissue. And therefore people are buying stuff to try and navigate how this makes them feel. And how this makes them feel is always interesting, because health is difficult to qualify. I had years running what is the world's most advanced health assessment, and you can go through 50,000 pounds of testing and you can still die in the car park on the way out, which is always a cheery. We didn't put that on the brochure, by the way, you might be surprised. But the reality is chasing health is very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to quantify, but people don't feel well, and feeling is a really interesting biomarker of health. And fatigue for me has always been the key determinant of well-being. We look at the global wellness economy. We know it's rising. We know it's predominantly product-led. McKinsey would say it was about 70% products, 30% services. That's pretty logical. People want to buy stuff. They don't want to do stuff. If you offer me a magnesium supplement to sleep better versus consistent sleep and wake time, I'll snap your hand off for the magnesium. If you offer me a GLP-1 versus, again, considered food preparation and daily movement, I'll snap your hand off for GLP-1 agonist. We want passive solutions. That's very human, but it's led to an extraordinary marketplace. And what's interesting about this marketplace is as this rises, no one's getting more well. I've never seen a less effective industry. That life expectancy plateaued and dipped during COVID. We're spending more years in quality affected life years. So everyone's championing the fact we're making loads of money. Is anyone getting more well for the provision of wellness? Because I'm not sure where they are. I haven't found many of them. So, what are people actually worried about is symptoms. Of course, most people are facing some form of digestive discomfort, some form of fatigability, some form of brain fog, cognitive challenge, and they're buying solutions to their symptoms rather than addressing what caused the symptom in the first place. Aligning with the previous speaker, we have a broken healthcare system. It's not its fault. It's born to treat symptoms, not to solve the problem. And I think, again, what's interesting for me is, of course, when we unpicked the genome, we realized health was not genetic. Your opportunity to develop Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, most cancers, metabolic disease is not defined by the genetics your parents gave you. that will contribute, whether it's 5% or 20%, it won't be the largest factor, it will contribute. The biggest thing that will determine your health outcomes, the biggest things that will determine your quality of life will be the things that affect your physiology through your lifespan, of which movement is one, not all. So my movement, obviously we know this, if we work in the fitness sector, you cannot be fit and well without nutrition. You know that. Weight management is probably 80% diet, 20% movement. So we know to be well, we must move and nourish. But we also know if I don't sleep, then of course I face catastrophic health outcomes. I face poor appetite regulation. My immune system doesn't work. But beyond sleep, I need to manage inflammation, and we need to manage what we call autonomic nervous system regulation, which we would define as recovery. And I'll spend a lot of time in FIBO in the next few hours seeing recovery modalities. There's not that many athletes who need to recover like a pro, but most people need recovery in the return of energy to baseline. But I'm also the sum of my light exposure, noise exposure, my toxicity, my cultural environment, my family, my contribution, my environment. And I'm also the sum of what I think about people I work with, the people I encounter, but when I look in the mirror, what I think about myself. And that will define my health outcomes. So when a gym calls itself a wellness center, but it only influences 20% of the factors that affect my physiology, and it barely affects 50% of the 20%, don't expect to generate great outcomes. Do we hope as a fitness sector that people miraculously eat well, sleep well, manage their mood state, manage their environment? We've left it to their own devices. They're buying products. It isn't working particularly well. So my point of interest, coming to the point of relevance, is fitness is the foundation for me of well-being, but it isn't well-being in its entity. And then I'm working on multiple projects where industries are stepping into what I would call lifestyle management rather than fitness, rather than wellness, and in lifting their proposition from a commercial positioning point. And a couple of those examples, Lisa, will be relevant. And I think, when we look at the growth areas within global wellness economy, people look at wellness real estate, wellness tourism. Hopefully there's people here from the hotel industry. I want to talk about both of those because I'm involved pleasingly with both. At the moment, this was an article that came out in the Standard. So we're involved in a 2 billion build on London's South Bank, creating the healthiest place in Europe to live and work. And that's an interesting project. So as Pillar, we were brought in as wellness consultants. And there's an interesting question, what would I do for you, Lisa, if I could control where you went to sleep, where you watched TV, where you sat in your working day, where you spent most of your life? What would I do if I had a blank canvas to make you more well? And building a gym in the basement isn't going to cut it, right? It is about quality of light. It's about air filtration. It's about social spacing on desks. It's biophilic design. I've noticed the green background here. It's very intelligent. Biophilic, our human innate connection with nature and spaces. It's about access to anti-inflammatory modalities, hot and cold. It's about social purpose, cultural programming. It isn't put a gym in the basement and call yourself a well-being building. And so we have core and shell, which is designing the physical building with the architects who are Fosters and partners in this case, and Arup who'll design, again, the physical building. How do I make you well with every touch? What's the fabric I'm sitting on here? Why this wood? What air am I breathing? Everything. So wellness real estate is interesting. And I want you to think, who is a wellness real estate expert? Because there isn't one. There is no expert in this. You'll have people who are accredited in the WELL, which is an accreditation that enables minimum standard. But you don't need to be an expert in real estate. You need to be an expert in physiology, which is how does my physical environment influence my physiology? And what we'll see is real estate scrambling to position itself in an elevated pitch. If you go to the Middle East and you buy a 2-bed duplex apartment, it won't be what the view is. They're all beautiful. It'll be how that building makes you more well and how do you prove what you mean by more well. That's the growth area. Second project of interest is Pillar, runs, again, well-being facilities in luxury hospitality. This is our facility in the Old War Office Hotel in London. We work with Raffles. And again, wellness real estate is very real. I traveled out to Cologne, as all of you might have done. And the first thing I look for in my hotel is, has it got a gym and has it got a sauna? And I don't book a hotel that hasn't got a gym and a sauna. But beyond that, how do we create an elevated proposition for the hotel and a local membership proposition? So Pillar's job is to create 250 local members paying £500 a month out of a hotel gym that would normally just sit there with a couple of guests running on the treadmill. So create a true EBITDA contributing wellness club out of the provision of integrated services. So Pillar creates well-being spaces by repurposing spa as recovery centers. We put performance coaches into gyms, and we build healthy food and beverage. So we integrate food, recovery, and movement. We sell local membership, and we turn a historic, beautiful hotel into a wellness destination, which brings a new audience and potentially a repeat audience. Health assessments shouldn't be run by doctors because doctors specialize in ill people. If you're going for a health assessment, you're probably not ill. So with Latest Health, we redesign health assessments to talk about behavior. What are the behaviors that influence blood pressure, the behaviors that influence cholesterol, the behaviors that influence body composition, adiposity? And so we need a new professional who looks like a fitness professional, upskilled. The first non-doctor, non-nurse health assessment I designed for Nuffield, we sold 10,000 in the first year at £200 per person because people aren't ill and they don't need an illness professional talking to them about how to be more well. So we'll see a change in the structure and makeup of health assessments. And when someone says they're measuring your health, I'd always ask the question, what do you mean? Are you checking if I'm ill? Are you assessing the quality of my behavior? Are you determining whether I'm biologically ahead or behind of where I should be at this stage? But there's no such thing as health. There's no such thing as well-being. We have to drive into the granularity of the data because our language is confusing others. And if we haven't got it straight ourselves, then sort of God help the consumer. I'll get on something interesting in a minute, Lisa. I'm partnered with Everyone Active, which is, again, the 215 clubs in the UK, 415,000 members. When they came with a very simple question, which is how do we fulfill our value of making people more well in our community? And I started with the question I start with today, what do you mean by more well? Right? And with Everyone Active, we created a membership focused on modulating behavior around the things you do outside of our gyms, around sleep rituals, stress management, nutritional habits, social purpose, psychological fitness as we define it, and movement quality. And we create an algorithm that determines which of those areas is your weakest. And we sold it as an extra £8 per month on their standard membership. And in the first month of operating, that program has generated a 10 times ROI in month one for good reason. People are interested in how they manage their behavior. They don't just want a facility. And Everyone Active is very excited to be a curator of lifestyle, not a fitness facility. So let's see them lean into that. And, we have companies trying to add deliberate services. I have, again, ed tech courses teaching on sleep coaching, stress management, heart rate variability. We see companies like Third Space taking digital training so their staff all consistently coach on sleep. If you walk into a Third Space club, their approach to how you improve your sleep will be the same whether you're in Battersea, whether you're in Clapham Junction. If you're leaving lifestyle coaching to whimsy, other, you can't sell that as a proposition, which for me in the world of well-being is quite determinable. I put these out there because they're all the same thing. They're all the same thing, which is helping individuals make informed choices about their lifestyle outside of the basics of how I move, which for me isn't enough. If fitness wants to be wellness, it can't talk about sets and reps. We've got to do that and do that brilliantly, but we have to do more because the human doesn't just interface with movement, it interfaces with a lot more. And I say, I walk around, I see companies, they go, Ollie, should I put a cold plunge in? Ollie, should I put hyperbaric in? Should I do red light? I'm like, if you can't explain the mechanism of how that works, don't buy the product. If you don't understand how red light influences inflammation, learn inflammation first. If you don't understand cold to develop grit, sleep, inflammation, dopamine, don't do it. We're buying products that make no sense to us, therefore they don't have longevity with our members. I believe in all of these products, interestingly, and I use all of them, but outside of context, fitness is dipping its toe in well-being, hotels are dipping their toe in well-being, and unless we do it credibly, we won't be at the table for much longer.
Amazing, Ollie. So many fascinating things you're doing. First of all, congrats on all of that. It's not often that you meet someone with a science background, a physiologist in your case, who thinks about business. I'm interested in how you made that leap. I mean, how did you, from being a clinician, see opportunity and decide there was a business case for that?
I'd still say I'm a terrible businessman. I think business gets in the way of ideology. Right? So I started as an idealist, and I very much remember when I was at a large hospital group in the UK, we had the opportunity to build a very intelligent wellness proposition, and we spec'd it out, and we reached the point where it was about to be launched and funded, and the person pulling the string said, "Can you guarantee it's profitable? Because if I build a 10,000 square foot gym and I charge £65 a month, I can get, 1,500 members, we generate this EBITDA, and you're telling me you want to care more, dig deeper, do that." And was like, we don't want to take the risk on the innovation when we've got a safe option over here. And what I found fairly quickly is if you don't understand commercials, you can't deploy good well-being products. And me living in a glass house, wouldn't it be lovely if you had unlimited nutritional coaching and unlimited access to technologies and other. I've had to become more granular because I want products that work, and for them to work, someone has got to fund them and benefit from them. And I've in amongst the things I do now, there's been many failed attempts at high touch point, high efficacy products, and I've learned to calibrate down a bit to say good is better than not. And when you get good, we can maybe aim for best. So it's pragmatism, Lisa, really more than anything else.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? Make an effort.
100%.
So what we're talking about today is how do we bring these wellness components into the mainstream of hospitality and commercial enterprises? We have lots of great equipment, all of it around us here on the floor, touchless wellness, PEMF mats, infrared, cold plunge. But what you're saying, Ollie, is having a wellness program is just not having a bunch of equipment and then hoping the customers figure out how to use it in a consistent way. And let's face it, in a hotel, I'm a transient, right? I'm not living there. Unfortunately, I don't live at the Raffles. I wouldn't like that. So I'm there a week. I go once or twice. I mean, how much of an impact can this have when you have just random equipment? I like what Pillar is doing in that you are bringing a program behind it. So can you elaborate a little bit for us on how that works at the Raffles, for instance? I mean, an amazing space, if you've been there, spectacular, billions were spent, but how will it affect people in the long term? If you're just a hotel without the expertise, that's a difficult leap.
I think it's a great question, and it's probably the similar challenge with the fitness is made, corporate well-being's made, to start with the product, not to start with culture. There's no point me walking into a center for my red light and the receptionist doesn't know what that roughly does. I will go through demos at FIBO with someone trying to explain to me what's happening with the heart rate variability. And the minute it's not credible, the minute it doesn't work, I don't buy into the tech. I need there to be a basic cultural understanding of what we all mean by well-being and what we're all trying to achieve. So Pillar spent as much time training the Raffles staff as it spends training its own staff, because when we talk about well-being, there's got to be a tone of voice. Then for me, it's service before product. So I would much rather a brilliant coach than a brilliant piece of equipment, because the only things that are really going to move the dial are behaviors sustained over time. I can stack, and I'm a big believer in infrared, big believer in red light, believer in hyperbarics, but those are going to stack on top of baseline steps and sleep consistency and plant food based diet or plant predominant based diet. They're going to sit on top of social connection and purpose. The danger is someone sits me down in front of a box and says, stand here for 3 minutes and you'll be well. And they've discredited the kit, they've discredited themselves. So the purpose is you build up to the tech and you say, look, I would love to have a broader role in improving your sleep. So why don't we introduce some modalities around breath work, or we could extend breath work into technology-induced breath biofeedback, or we're enjoying your anti-inflammatory approach with us. Let's extend that to cold. Let's extend that to hot. I think the great danger is starting with the product without the culture. I buy also that people want experience, and behavior is boring and experience is exciting. So you might use the experience as a gateway to the behavior. But I think you've got to know what you stand for. There has to be a consistent tone of voice, what well-being means, what the methodology is, and pick the technology that solves the problem of your members, not the technology you think is glossiest and fanciest. So if I have a group of individuals who work shift patterns, then circadian lighting will be a far better investment than a hyperbaric chamber, because their biggest problem is sleep, not inflammation. So when we start with the problem and work back to the technology, that's a crucial piece. But I never start with the tech. I start with culture, service, and then which technologies create better engagement, better experiences, and solve problems.
Great. Let's talk about some practical aspects of, so I have a hotel and I'd like it to help my guests be well, and I hire Pillar. Who owns the equipment? Like what does the process look like for me to bring my vision with Pillar into an actuated model?
You will definitely pay for all the stuff. So we'll let you do the CapEx. We'll let you pay the staff. We'll come in as a management contract. So we'll recruit, we will train, we will govern, we will brand. So Pillar is coming in and saying, you can have two gyms side by side. Which one's better? If we're all trying to win on facility, you'll always be outperformed. Pillar in Old War Office is a beautiful, beautiful club, but there's a bigger one around the corner. And there'll be another more anointed club around the corner. So we work on the idea you will win on service, and those services means you'll win on outcome. We create a proprietary assessment. So we do a baseline, which is relevant for longevity. We do a baseline VO2 max, which you're probably aware is the objective marker of aerobic capacity and the single best biomarker of longevity. So if I extend the VO2 max of the men in this room by 1 milliliter per kilogram, I will give you 45 days extra life expectancy for every milliliter gain. So we do VO2 max, we do skeletal muscle mass and strength evaluation, the second part of a longevity strategy. We do biomechanical analysis of movement. We measure heart rate variability for burnout prediction. We do an analytic of metabolism through gas analysis. We do a blood pressure and resting heart rate and a questionnaire based on lifestyle. And from that, we determine personal programming. But what we also do is prove to you in 3 months' time that we did something. Because if you only came to look different in the mirror and you don't, have I failed you? And we know whether it's hotels or gyms, if we rely on body composition and weight management as our rock, we are dead, because GLP-1s will outperform exercise by a margin. If I influence physiology, I'm bulletproof, because GLP-1 doesn't do that. So Pillar comes in as a if you like, a management contract to add a deliberate well-being brand to brands that haven't got a well-being heritage. Raffles is an extraordinary hotel. It isn't known as it's not a Lanzerhof, it's not a Shah, it doesn't have a medical heritage. So we're adding a well-being heritage to non-well-being brands. We're squeezing the asset you already have to elicit service proposition, membership proposition, and wellness tourism. That's the Pillar plan.
So you would advise me on what to purchase, but I purchase it. You come in and train my staff, and then you manage that staff, which is not doctors. Nothing against the doctors here, but managing doctors is complicated for anyone, let alone a hotel. So we don't have medical people. We have trained physiologists. And how long does it take, Oliver, from when I hire Pillar to when I have a something to show for it?
Yeah, so we wouldn't put physiologists in. We just upskill personal trainers to performance coaches. So we teach them sleep coaching, heart rate variability, and analytics. We teach them recovery, and then we teach them how to deliver our assessment. So we take that staff. So we need a basic capability, and then we elevate them. In all of the Pillar deployments so far, we've been there from the off. So we opened in Fairmont with Doha. As they opened, we opened in London. So Pillar does pop-ups. We do Sunniva Jani at the moment, where we come in and add a well-being layer. In terms of how long that takes, it would depend on how many staff, what is the ability to shut down operations transition. So I couldn't say, but you'd say within a 2 to 3 month period, you could repurpose a hotel gym to a Pillar wellness facility. We want food and beverage. We have a healthy eating concept. that we co-designed with Michelin star chef Jason Atherton that works on a certain diversity of plant fibers, fermented foods, gut-centric, low glycemic load, and storytelling through the plate. We know healthy eating has historically suffered from being cooked by nutritionists. No offense to any nutritionists but I don't want my meals cooked by a nutritionist. I want them cooked by a chef. So we get chefs to follow nutritionist guidelines, and Pillar Kitchen is a way in which we also add value to the space. So we then repurpose some of the consulting rooms for deliberate recovery-based services. And so we cannibalize the space and we add a new membership that we would sell to your local audience out of that.
And who does the marketing of this program? Does the hotel do it or does Pillar do it?
Hotel does it. Yeah. So we will contribute in content creation. We'll lend ourselves to a new tone of voice, but it's the hotel's brand. It's their space. They run the marketing.
So if I'm a member, do I know about Pillar or am I just a member of the Raffles Old War Office?
Good question. So there's a great challenge of, is it a white label service? So we run it as a Pillar membership. So if you come to the Old War Office, what you get that's interesting with the Old War Office, you have an owner. Anyone in hotels, we have an owner, you have an operator, and then you got us as a management contract. So you're 3 tiers in there. So Old War Office, it's Raffles at the Old War Office with the Pillar membership. So it's a little clunky, but it means everyone has their definable space. But we feel it being a Pillar membership is sort of the reason you've got it in the first place. So it's normally branded Pillar.
What has the feedback been so far on your 2 operating models?
Yeah, it's mixed. It's a slow burn. You've got to build a membership club. I know, I'm friends with Emlyn Brown, who many of you may know, the VP of Accor. Hotel gyms repurposing it as membership clubs is a new thing. They've normally been led by a hero personal trainer. So you go to the Bulgari Hotel in London and there's a celebrity personal trainer. They bring their audience and that has worked to a degree, but then the hotel feels very vulnerable to that. It doesn't own their member.
And the celebrity trainer is off at some other property all the time.
Always off. So they skeetingly pop in. You're like, I came to see, the guy, and the guy's not here, or the girl. So I think where we're at is we are generating contribution to the hotels where we would argue there was no contribution. So it's an absolute win. Can we determine the wellness tourist from the interested American who was coming to see where Winston Churchill did his stuff and an outside Horse Guards parade? Hard, because that data is not being filtered. So we know we're generating a contribution. The broader impact, we're sort of 18 months into operation. Hard to show at this point, truth be told.
Well, you have to believe that you're attracting members that weren't there in a space that was underutilized, and they're going to spend on F&B, and they're going to have their friends come stay there. So the ancillary effects, like with spa, are going to be hard to measure, but they're going to be there for sure.
100%. And there comes a point where that belief has to be evidence, and we sign lengths of contract that give us time to prove that out. But we're collecting that evidence as we speak. But we believe it for sure, but we need to prove it now.
Well, fascinating stuff. Thank you for sharing your story, Oliver. At the conclusion of our next speaker, we will have our morning speakers back up here for Q&A. So if any of you have questions, please save them for that. And let's have a nice round of applause for Oliver.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks all.
So I am here with Claire Bourne. Claire is the founder of the global wellness brand Eden One and Eden Elements. And you know about the word Eden, right? We all want to be in Eden. So I just met Claire recently and learned about what she's doing. It's fascinating. We're going to be playing some pictures behind this of what Eden looks like in some of the fur properties while Claire explains what's up for the future. So welcome. Thank you, Tandy, and would you care to introduce yourself in a more complete role than I did?
Thank you so much, Lisa. It truly is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, my background was actually in medicine. For many years, I was in the pharmaceutical and surgical industries. And then 18 years ago, I joined our family business, which has been over all this time creating private members clubs, health clubs, global award-winning spas, and now longevity lounges. And so we specialize in combining the art of feeling youthful with the science of being healthy in places we wish to be. we're seeing a very interesting evolution in the industry of hospitality. It's no longer just about rest, relaxation, and enjoyment. It's actually becoming an opportunity for transformation. And the future lies with improved health outcomes combined with fabulous luxury experiences. Did you know that 80% of all chronic conditions can be prevented by merely changing your lifestyle? And also, 1 in 3 travelers are now seeking out wellness as their primary or equal purpose for their trip. So it's no longer just about checking into a room. We're noticing that people are wanting to check in to longer and, more importantly, healthier lives, and the demand is exploding.
Like, what is the existing Eden model? What are you?
Right. That's also a beautiful progression. Eden is the brainchild and combination of the dream of myself and my husband, Charlie, who's here today. We have been traditionally a health club and a spa in London, and our dream was always to really optimize and capture the essence of the most enjoyable concierge service for wellness, for hospitality, to combine the two, and to genuinely impact the bottom line of people's well-being. And so Eden 1 is our space in Dublin. That is, I will never forget when we opened, because it was roughly 5 weeks before the first lockdowns in 2020. So you can talk about a true test of resilience. We're still here.
Well done.
Thank you. It was a very interesting result for us to notice that combined the results of client retention between our health club in London and our private members club in Dublin. The client retention in Dublin was far higher through that period of time, even though we were shut for almost a year in total. We had less than 5% drop-off of customers. They were all completely prepared to pay the money every month to remain a member of the most exclusive private members club in Ireland. And that was very interesting for us to notice. So yes, it is. It's a combination of, our dream was to do the first in the world. Nowhere has combined global award-winning, full-scale luxury spas with global award-winning, full-scale luxury health clubs. You'd usually find a luxury health club with a very small wellness and beauty offering, or you might, on the flip side, find a very high-star hotel with a very beautiful spa, but a much minor focus on the health care offering, the health fitness offering. And so Charlie and I dreamed up a model where we would combine the two for the first time. And so you would have both of those two things that I've just mentioned: global award-winning health club, global award-winning day spa, a restaurant. But ultimately, at the pinnacle of all of this is it's probably the best in the world now of what I've been told. I'm humbled to have been told that. Concierge wellness, concierge longevity, concierge actually whatever you need. We've really helped our members to reach and access some of the most bizarre things. But our members clearly love us for that. So that's what Eden 1 is in Dublin.
Well, Eden sounds like a place that I want to go and I want to belong. I mean, who doesn't want concierge longevity and hospitality, right? We want that. But what does that mean? What does it mean to say we offer that on a daily basis?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that many places are trying to include longevity now because it's definitely on the up. We're reaching the peak and the pinnacle of this trend. We've had many conversations with the bright minds in the industry to really try and understand what is capturing the essence. How do you meet that intersection really well? how do you do justice to both the hospitality and the medical sector? How do you combine those staff? It's actually really, really difficult to do. So what does it look like? It looks like that your room and your resort are your sanctuary. So where we're moving to, actually, our longevity lounge is the bricks being laid in Dublin as we speak. The building is happening. But moving into a hotel model is the next level of this. So it's where your room and your resort are your sanctuary. So we want to provide the cocoon for your transformation. I've read a statistic that 75% of people will initiate a new wellness or biohacking trend, but 58% of them will give up quickly because they find it too much hard work. Now, most people are in the habit already of making time for a holiday. So why not combine the two? And we find that just by being in places we wish to be, your transformation has the perfect launch pad. You usually find as well that the trailblazers who have been before really forged the way to where we are now, have spent a tremendous amount of time, and mostly because many of us were really sick. How many years ago? 2009, 2010, and for the 3-4 years after that, I was really, really, really sick. And I just couldn't find all of the healing that I needed. And I've spent, I can't even tell you how much time and money researching and investigating and collating to try and seek and to tweak and to test all of these, whether it be traditional medicine, whether it be ancient wisdom, we're seeing a merging of these two. But not all people are that motivated, and not everyone has the time or the money to do what we've done. And so we would like to make it the fact that when you check into your sanctuary, that all the work is done for you. There's no guesswork, and it comes with a very high level of trust that you are having professionals who are combining their 100% expertise to really add to the guest journey, that they've already pre-planned your journey of diagnostics and experiential treatments so that they can do all the hard work for you, and they can deliver you a really thorough understanding of you, your biology, how, in epigenetics, how your environment is going to impact your outcomes, and also a blueprint for your personalized journey of transformation.
Well, it sounds fabulous. Sign me up. Can you walk us through what would a typical stay look like, from the check-in at this Eden facility, at this amazing facility for concierge longevity?
Yes, sure. So if you just close your eyes for a moment and just imagine yourself checking in to your dream destination. And our longevity concierge is with you at your check-in. And once you're comfortable, you'll make your way down to our concierge lounge, where everything is being pre-prepared for you. Your perfect balance of diagnostics, treatments, rest and relaxation. And according to your needs, you might be given, actually you will definitely be given, a full blood analysis, functional testing, metabolic and hormone profiling, epigenetic testing, if it's necessary. This is an ethical subject that we will offer for people who want it. You'll find that some people don't want to know, but it's actually very interesting to find out where is the lay of the land. And based on my genetics, how will my environment and my behaviors impact me down the line? If I can change those now, we can really shift the amount of further healthier quality years onto your life. So you might also have a various scans, brain, cognitive analysis, precision nutrition, and appropriate physical exercise. This is something that we have been researching for a long time. We're seeing a change in this area. the same exercise that we've seen for years and years is no longer appropriate for everybody. We really need to be specializing and personalizing someone's physical exercise journey. So once you've done this, you'd also get the bliss of visiting the longevity lounge, which would really be a detoxing and biohacking heaven. So we would be able to enjoy lymphatic drainage, infrared treatments, hyperbaric treatments with either oxygen or hydrogen supplementation. We'll talk a little bit later about the cryo and the sauna treatments, your thermal shock protein enhancement that is really good for us because we're quickly learning, but also our time in nature. And something that's trending very much at the moment is deep sleep optimization. So when someone has circadian rhythm dysregulation, this can also be addressed at your dream destination. It's the perfect place for it to happen. So something to really focus on here is that whilst our specialists will use AI to optimize the guest's journey, our focus very much is still on what makes Eden very special. Our staff are primarily, the first thing they train in is for every single person, doesn't matter who they are, who walk through our doors, are going to have this thought, I don't understand why I feel so loved. It's really important to still have that human touch. It has to be delivered by professionals. There's got to be a trust element that they're in really good hands, but also to have the guesswork taken out of everything.
So it sounds like if there's quite a degree of specificity in your offer, should I assume that I'm going to be filling out some pre-visit questionnaires or have testing done, or is it all done once I get there?
We've tried and tested this. It works way better when it's integrated in a very elegant and graceful way before someone arrives. It really has to be thought through. Our team have done a cracking job at this, of making those questionnaires really succinct. The questions need to be applicable, and even those questionnaires can be personalized to a certain extent. So yes, pre-questionnaire is very important.
It sounds like you employ a fair number of medical personnel, as well as perhaps exercise physiologists, or what's the mix like? What do you see it as?
So this is quite an exciting question to answer, because I think this is where that intersection really begins to start cracking the code of combining hospitality and medicine. Yes, we do employ our own global medical director because we want someone on our team who can advise. Coming from the medical industry, it's really important for me to not try to override medicine, or I just want to enhance it. I want to collaborate with them, and I want to make sure that each professional is doing what they're really good at. I don't want to be hassling with the licensing and regulation. We'll leave that for the experts. It's all covered by them. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for many years. They want our customer service and concierge. They want our expertise in wellness, in longevity, and in hospitality, so that it's now the perfect blend. Each person gets to do, each party gets to do what they're good at. So we are collaborating in Ireland. It's already happening. It's taken us a long time because it's the first time in the world it's happening. Collaborating with Ireland's biggest private medical. We were very honored that they gave us the kudos, shall I say, of being world recognized the best customer service and customer journey. They want that for their customer journey. So we've worked a way of collaborating with local private medical partners. So that network is something quite special. We do what we're really good at, and the medical do what they're really good at. But we have the segue, the bridge is our global medical director, who is the go-between. He's our communication between the two.
So Claire, this sounds incredible. It also sounds like it could be really expensive. I mean, can a mere mortal afford to stay at this property?
So I have some really good news for you. We have to remember that the beginning of every innovation journey is really expensive. But luckily, we're a little bit further down the road, at the peak of the trend. The timing is so perfect. Also, tech and innovation have actually allowed for a more democratized access. So what starts at high-end retreats will become as normal as your wearables are today. I mean, in the audience today, just give me a show of hands as to who's got a wearable on, who's got a Whoop, who's got an Apple Watch it's tracking. Yeah, that's normal today. That wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. It was elite back then. It's not that long since, and it's become something that's day to day. People are expected to have them. What's very beneficial about this model is that each center can focus on their own target markets and then integrate appropriate solutions for that center. It's very important for me on my heart to make this accessible to more people, because up until now, it's definitely not been accessible to many people. It's done really well, but it has been really only for those who can afford to spend 20, 30, 40, 50,000 euros a week to be in a place to be able to get this perfect, thorough understanding and a blueprint especially for you. It's important to work on a tiered level of options so that whether it's down to cost or time or desire, even though the work's done for you, the customer is still left in the position that they feel they can select what brings them joy and satisfaction. And we know that every little bit counts. So ultimately, as long as we can genuinely show, I'm really not a fan of greenwashing. I'm very, very meticulous and particular to make sure that whatever we are offering, whatever people are doing is genuinely going to impact the bottom line of their well-being positively.
So it's very futuristic. There's a lot of technology in this piece. And we've talked about that a few times today because we're a human touch industry when it came down to it, right? Spa, wellness, fitness, the interactivity of humans with us. So how do you bridge that gap between the old wisdom and the new tech in your model?
I love this question. There's a very famous say that says, if we forget the lessons of the past, we are destined to repeat them. It's very important. The advent of AI can really help us to find ways of faster, more cost-effective ways to collate data, to organize data. But trends show that people now more than ever really, really want that human connection. They want the human touch. They want it delivered by a real human being. There are people who are moving towards complete automation. But under my watch, I'm always going to honor the human interaction and honor the wisdom that has been tried and tested over generations. And actually, there's an interesting intersection here where AI can help us to search for and reach those long forgotten, long buried, ancient practices and solutions. With a little bit of testing and verification, we can reawaken those. It's very interesting to me that most people really want that connection with ancient wisdom. They want those ancient practices. And it seems that there is a reawakening in the benefits of nature's remedies. So when we think outside the box and we combine and collaborate, the results are really quite spectacular. It's experiential and it's enjoyable. So we don't just want to honor ancient practices, we want to enhance them. And what starts with a real connection and a village of specialists, a meaningful connection that can be filtered down and maintained long after the guest has left the retreat. Yeah, we want to combine the two. It's very important.
Well, I think that speaks to why the time is right now, because we have the technology, we have AI, we have the old practices. Why not combine them? Let's speak to the practical matter, right? If you're a hotelier and you want to have this integrated into your hotel, how does that work?
Okay. Actually, the timing's never been better, and it's a natural progression. It's the next level of the evolution of augmented services. Years ago, it was considered a luxury to have amenities and skincare in hotel bathrooms. It was only in the high-end luxury hotels that you would find this. Teas and coffees and cute little kettles in your hotel bedroom. But now that's percolated down to even the local motel. The next level of the evolution was hotel pools, spas, and gyms. And it's been known for a while, the trends show, statistics show, that customers will actually look for and pay more for a hotel with these facilities, even if they don't use the gym or the spa. It's just assumed that those hotels are better quality. It's assumed that they're better. So now luxury hotels really want the next level of that evolution. And with 1 in 3, do you remember that stat? The 1 in 3 travelers, they're actually seeking wellness as their primary or equal purpose for their holiday. By collaborating with wellness and longevity and hospitality specialists, they can actually use that expertise to integrate and elevate, but also maximize their existing facilities. So it's also well known that within most hotels, it's almost always the case that their facilities are underutilized. But this collaborative model allows for the experts in wellness and hospitality and longevity to integrate all of those underutilized facilities to increase the revenue for the hotel as well. It also allows them the collaboration with our network to private medical, which is local. This is a model that people around the world are beginning to really love. It's a really honorable model. By collaborating with local private medical, we want to enhance the business that's there, enhance the knowledge and the experts that are already in that area. And it also allows for each party to really focus on what each party does really well. When it comes to regulation and reliability, it's far more agreeable for each party too. It's a great client retention model. It really, if a hotel can really show clients that they have this ability to not only allow you to rest and enjoy, but to genuinely impact your well-being, you can guarantee those clients will come back, not just year on year, but multiple times in the year, I guess, is what we're seeing by the trends. It always is the case that professionalism and customer service will dictate the success of your brand.
So this sounds very similar to what we heard this morning from Oliver about the pillar model. Yours is more medical, for sure. And so I'm curious about whether you see this as being a destination model, like I come for this, or is it a side benefit of staying at a certain property?
If I'm going to go by the statistics, I would say that 1 in 3 travelers will make it a destination. They will come specifically for it. The other 2 out of the 3 will be there and be really excited to realize that it is there and they want to give it a try. So for us, we want to make it where people are in the norm, in the habit of going to book a spa treatment, that they can find something really exciting, new, experiential, and all the high-star hotels are all about luxury experience today. Has to be experiential. And this gives them that opportunity.
So let's talk about the next 5 years. In the more immediate future, what do you see as continuing trends in this space, Claire?
Sure. Well, if we had anything to do with it, I'd love to create the first longevity hospitality grid, a global network of bespoke destinations and service and hospitality services. I was going to tell you a personal story here, but for time, I might leave that for another time. Watch this space. But yes, we want to build the future of healthcare, so that we can really capitalize on the peace, the tranquility of luxury destinations. We would also see perhaps that retreats would become licensed health hubs, places where people can begin their biological age reversal while you're on holiday. People might prescribe travel for chronic stress, for metabolic dysfunction, for circadian rhythm dysregulation, even burnout. And the homes would also become satellite wellness retreats. So it's not far off that what starts in elite hospitality would trickle down to the home, and very soon your bedroom will be able to know when you are stressed, and it will adjust the light, the sound, the temperature, even the smell to create the perfect environment for your body to repair.
That's fascinating. I like my bedroom to know all that, so it saves me time in the night. So tell us a few things about the practical part of working with you. I mean, is there a revenue share model with a hospitality property? Is it a membership? How do you see it working? Or maybe it's all of the above.
Something that the Eden brand that Charlie and I have been able to do very well for the last 30 years is because we're a family-owned brand. We are close to where the decisions need to be made and very flexible, which means that we're very able to always create and deliver the most bespoke model for that destination. And we see that within our own models. We're always sensitive to the target market. We're always sensitive to the highest priority needs of that area and also the local collaboration within the area. It requires a bespoke attention to detail for what would really impact and benefit every party. We have found that in some parts of the world, a franchise model works very well. We're finding more so that high-end hotels really value our specialist expertise in the wellness, the longevity, the ability to be able to personalize, the concierge ability to deliver, and the hospitality that we've been in for all of this combined time. So we're finding ways that we are loving, always uplifting those that we collaborate with. We have done models where we actually give shares away of the main business and then go on perhaps to do a franchise model together later. That has happened in some parts of the world. It's really quite bespoke.
So open to collaboration, reinvention, etc., which sounds great. So Claire, in our final moments, can you share anything about your long-term vision or plans for the brand or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I guess that maybe if I can tell it really quickly. Personal stories never work out well saying it quick, but over the last 5 years, aside from all the trouble we had, our businesses being shut down, a lot of prayer, a lot of resilience created. I also had my dear mum who went through 3 really horrendous journeys of cancer. And whilst I was with her at every appointment and at every treatment, I not only found the environment where you're expecting someone to heal to be very sterile, but actually quite hostile. And so for me, it's really on my heart to not only champion preventative medicine, that's the space that we will focus on and that's our expertise. But if I can even influence medicine to the level that where people are healing, every journey, every experience, every treatment is the same feeling as a day spa. That ultimate concierge, ultimately loved, really cared for, everything's been thought out for you under the best hands. You have to be in places you wish to be, and healing begins majority in the mind. We have to establish that environment for those patients to capitalize and monopolize on that inherent ability for that body to heal.
Well, spoken like it comes from a true place of the heart, and that's where the best brands are built. So thank you for sharing your story with us, Claire, and best of luck.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you so much.